Okay, everybody got the difference between those three? The last point to make with regard to that is that any levy originally passed or replaced after August of 2013 no longer qualifies for the owner occupancy or the non-business credit. It used to be called 10% and 2.5% rollbacks. Obviously, because you can't take that your tax bill and multiply it by 10% and 2.5%, we had to change the name of things. That good? So why a replacement levy? So you can see currently their levy is collecting at 1.7 mils. If passed, it goes up to 7.5 mils. What it costs you for ag res or commercial and industrial property, you can see the differences, and then what the annual proceeds are. Replacement levy is another form of an additional levy. It's taking that effective rate and bringing it back up to the voted rate.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
These numbers that I'm seeing up there, the 7.5, that must be the number that we're looking at. Is the 1.677 and the 1.90, are those relevant to our?
Those are the rates these levies are currently collecting at. So you, right now, on the books, you have this 7.5 mil levy. If you're an agricultural or residential property, you have a 7.5 mil levy that you're paying. But you're paying it at 1.7 mils. Because as reappraisals have occurred, that effective tax rate has kept getting reduced so that it generated the same amount of money it did the previous year. So
Here's
yes,
the situation here.
that is this levy. This is this levy we're here to discuss. It has, and we haven't really talked that there's two different sets of tax rates, one for ag res and commercial industrial, but I'm running out of time already, and so I'm not going to get into that. Just know that this 7.5 mil levy that's currently on the books that in 1981 was collecting at 7.5 mils is now collecting at 1.7 mils because of all those reappraisal changes that have occurred.
So we're still getting the same money?
Yes, reappraisal does not result in them getting additional money. Instead, that tax rate rolls back. Now, they're getting additional money for new construction that occurs. Okay, so we talked about all the different levy types. So here, you can pick which district you're in, L32 or L35. Hopefully, it's one of those two. And you can see the types of levies you have. Inside village represents 12% of the levies that you pay. Fixed sums represent 7%. And your fixed rate levies are 81%. That means 81% of the levies that you pay on, you will not pay more money because of a reappraisal change. You would only pay more money because of a new construction change. And then I also gave you the information for Bellbrook Sugar Creek School District specifically. You can see it's 11% that's inside that is directly tied. Okay, so one of the things I heard is it's a 300% increase in our taxes. No, it's not. It's a 300% increase in this particular levy. This levy is one of many levies that the school district has. So if you were to take a look and look at all their property tax levies, and this includes some money that they get from the state for reimbursements for owner occupancy, non-business credit, and homestead. Those numbers are included here. That it's a 14.3% increase in the revenue that the school district gets for their non-debt service levies. So again, that's just an important point to me, because when I hear people say it's a 300% increase, only on that one levy, if you keep it all in perspective, it's a 14% increase. I'm not saying 14% is good or bad, that's for the voters to decide, but know what you're really basing your decision on.
David, that doesn't include police, roads, anything
No,
else?
this is purely the Bellbrook Sugar Creek School District levy. And I'm sorry I hyphenated every one of them because that takes up way too much space to type all that out. Okay, so this is, to me, a really important. This was our last triennial update. Last time we updated values, overall values increased 5.4%. 4.7% of that was because of reappraisal changes. 0.7% was because of new construction. Okay? So if we go to the next slide and we look at the revenue changes that the school district received, you can see on their inside village, they increased 5.4%. The total value increase, reappraisal and new construction. But if you look at the next one, fixed rate village, and then their permanent improvement, all fixed rate levies, those increased 0.8%. That's because that was the new construction portion of that reappraisal. I think it was 0.8. Yes, sir.
And this levy is the fixed rate levy.
It is the fixed rate levy. So, and this is why I don't include bond in anything. They actually had a bond levy that fell off. That's the reason you see the dramatic decrease in the bond revenue. It has nothing to do with us messing with the rates, but I wanted to show the total picture for whatever reason. So you see, overall, when you look at this, 1.4% more money in a reappraisal year is what the school district received. Now, I'm not here to say what is reasonable and what is unreasonable, but what I'm going to say is that if I only gave my people a 1.4% increase in their salary, I would have trouble keeping good people. And I'm not telling you, again, I don't, I'm neither in favor of or opposed to this, but think about that. Revenue grew 1.4%. That 1.4% is a spike number because we had our inside millage grow significantly. Otherwise, the total revenue change would have been closer to that 0.8%. Okay, and I kind of covered that one already. So this is a list of all the levies that Bellbrook Sugar Creek School District has. The only thing I guess that would be worth highlighting, the last increase occurred in 2015. Prior to that, 2009, 2015, they replaced the 5.5 mil levy. In 2009, they replaced the 5.5 mil levy. So just, you can see, yes sir?
Why so many levies? Are they pegged to individual funds or?
No, these are all, so you can tell current expense when they're up, permanent improvement. Again, I don't give a lot of weight to permanent improvement because they also make permanent improvements out of their general fund. So if they didn't have the PI levy, where would they spend it out of the general fund? So, and then the bond levy. So all those current expenses all go to the general fund. So any levy, you have to remember House Bill 920, which is what created all these effective tax rates. And we can thank then State Representative George Voinovich for it. Who was a former county auditor, by the way. That these levies come on over time as the school district needed money, just like they're doing now. And instead of adding a new levy, what are they doing? They're replacing their existing levies to bring them back up. Okay, school districts relative to the floor. This is important because Bellbrook Sugar Creek School District cannot see the floor from where they are. I would have to increase property values by 44% in Bellbrook Sugar Creek School District in order to get them to be at the 20 mil floor. But if you look at Beaver Creek City School District, they've got a bunch of emergency levies. Now, what's important about the 20 mil floor, can I finish the 20 mil floor thing real quick? So what's important about the 20 mil floor is if you were at that floor, that tax rate cannot go any lower. So now that 20 mil floor starts acting like inside millage. So not, where in Bellbrook Sugar Creek School District's case, I think they had 4.3 mils of inside millage. Anybody remember? It's on one of the slides. That's the only millage they get that is directly correlated. Imagine if that number is closer to 20 mils that is directly correlated. And we can kind of, no, we can't. Apparently I didn't do that slide. So this is important because remember, most of the valuation changes that occur, new construction in that new reappraisal or that triennial update year was less than 1%. I know you see all these houses going up. You see all of this new construction. But when you compare it to a total value of $505 million, it's really a drop in the bucket. And that's the important part to get across. The only way they get any significant new money is by passing an additional levy or a replacement levy. In a triennial update where we had a 5.4% increase in our value, the school district received 1.4% more money. Okay, now I had several hands go up and I apologize. Yes, ma'am.
You kind of jumped onto that 20% floor thing without really defining what that is. Can you
Like what floor is?
What is the floor?
What's the floor?
Okay, so you have two floors. For a school district, you have a 20 mil floor. The voted rate on general fund millage cannot go below 20. So general fund millage in Bellbrook Sugar Creek School District's case includes, Sorry. All of these current expense levies, and then it would also include their inside village over here. So that is what goes to make up their 20 mil floor. What is excluded from the 20 mil floor is bond, permanent improvement, emergency. Those are not subject to the 20 mil floor, which is why every other school district has these types of levies. So again, I'm not telling you that, again, I'm not in favor of, but I'm trying to get you to understand that the only way the Bellbrook Sugar Creek School District gets significant additional revenue is by replacing these levies. Where if you were Beaver Creek City School District sitting at that 1% change, and 1% increase causes them to go to the 20 mil floor, they are going to end up having their levies. If it's a 5% increase, they're going to get 4% increase on that floor wage. Yes?
So explain to me how this is legal. Because my understanding is, this is how, there are 10 states in the United States that do this, and we are one of them. So how we get our tax from the schools. I've got relatives living on in Utah, $1 million home, their taxes are like $3,200. We're paying twice that, some of us triple that. And it's ridiculous because the question is to me, is how do I get my state legislators to hear this? This is illegal, and how do we get this to stop?
Okay, that's a question, obviously. I understand how property taxes work in Ohio. Tennessee also has extremely low property taxes.
Exactly.
But they have a very high sales tax.
Everything is 10%. I got family live there. Everybody pays 10% on everything. So they don't have a poor district and a rich district. They're all the same. And Centerville, Beaver Creek, Bellbrook, Dayton taxes are outrageous for the square footage that they have. This has got to stop. And I don't know who to complain to. I don't know how to complain to. But someone's got to take a stand and say, this is illegal.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to
And I know
my
you're my
comment.
sounding board, and I appreciate that. But somebody's got to take.
I can explain the way they work. I can't.
I'm the state rep.
Okay.
So I'm hearing what you're saying.
Please, and I can speak real loud, so I know you can hear me. But I'm really makes me angry about this.
What's your explanation?
And I don't take it like,
Please don't.
I don't have an answer for that. I mean, every state's different and they're
What
like.
about
they said-
impact fees? It should have happened in the mid-80s. See,
Say
it's
again,
too late for this district now. Impact fees. This could have been taken care of in the school district in the mid-80s if the legislature would have followed through. It's too late now. We have no more land to expand to. But I'm saying that could have been an answer. And it was choked out.
And I'm just asking you as my state legislator, how do we make this, how do we make this fair for everybody now?
Can I first ask you what you have personally done in office to do anything at the state level to end this problem?
We are, none of those questions are easy to answer. The Roth happened in '96, and that was, the Supreme Court said we had to give every children, and especially in low income districts, the same opportunity, and we've been messing with that since then. What David talked about was the caps. Did you talk about the caps?
No, I did not. That's a school funding issue as it relates to
And
foundation.
that's what hurts, I'm in Beaver Creek, that's what hurts Beaver Creek and you folks, because as you get more students, you're capped out at a certain level. This new proposal, which I've been working on with Cup and Patterson, is going to minimize the effect of that cap. So as you get new students, you'll get more money from the
Our
state.
taxes go up because we get more kids coming in.
Well, this is based on the same amount of taxes at the state. This is state money, this is a
Okay.
property tax.
Okay, gotcha.
And then the schools, for instance, like in Dayton, it could be a 4-to-1. They're getting 4 times the amount per student as we are. That would be minimized as well.
Well, let's talk about that, though. What have you done about the racial and economic profiling that has been done in our community, that basically we get less so that others can have more? The Supreme Court of Ohio ruled almost 20 years ago that this was illegal, that this funding was not allowed to happen. This school board has done nothing about it. You know, I haven't heard any of my state representatives do anything. I sent you an email via Facebook, received nothing back.
And you are who?
John Stafford.
Okay.
I received nothing back. You know, this idea that, you know, the city of Dayton gets $9,600 per student and Bellbrook Sugar Creek gets $2,600 a student is wrong. You know, I don't understand why the school board has not filed a class action lawsuit against the state to enforce the Ohio Supreme Court rule. But then, David, I've got something for you. You said something that really
Oh,
well.
hold on.
Can I real quick, I'm sorry, I just want to jump in real quick, because we're a little bit behind, and I just want to explain real quick what my role is here.
Right.
All I want to do is try to help people have a conversation, and to do that, we need to capture some of these things and give people a chance to respond. And so, I think that the conversation was happening, was going well, asking questions, getting answers, and so I want to help keep that going. So if you would like to ask a question, if you could just raise your hand and maybe keep them to one at a time so that we can make sure that you get the responses that you want from the people that you want them. That would be the only thing. So the first question you had.
Back to this, like.
Thank you.
So what are we doing now? We've got a separate proposal that would help communities like Beaver Creek and Bellbrook who are having to pay more locally because they're more affluent than other schools, and that has to do with the cap, and we're trying to work that. So there's a proposal, as a matter of fact, it's a Cup-Patterson proposal, you can read it. It's out there.
Spell that out.
Cup, C-U-P-P, who is a Republican, and Patterson, who is a Democrat in the House, have been working on this with the rest of us.
Who is the second person?
Patterson. Go ahead.
When will that be decided?
Well, hard to say. Did you, let me get back to that. Did you have something directly with that?
Yeah, from what I understand, that's not even a bill yet, but I wanted to ask the White House member, how long have you been in office, not a year?
I'm in my 7th or 6th year.
So this is the first time you personally made any effort to discuss school funding at the state level?
This is supposed to be personal, but every year, every
Oh, it
GA,
is very
every
personal.
GA, we have made adjustments. We have tried to make this situation better. This is just the latest effort, and you're right, it's not a bill yet. But it starts like this and becomes a bill. So it will become a bill. To answer your question,
How long does that take?
it's still in its due diligence. It is not a bill yet, that's what I said. It is not a bill yet. Right now, excuse me, just a second, right now, that's all right. Right now, Wednesday, we get the sub-bill in the House. The Patterson bill has just been, and Cup bill has just been started vetting. Probably, we'll get a week in the House to look at this bill. I called the chair this morning, and they're not giving up anything. I'm on the Finance Committee, and they're not giving up anything until that sub-bill gets out. We'll have a week with that sub-bill. It'll be public knowledge, public information when it comes out, hopefully Wednesday, and then we'll have a week to play with it before we have to vote it out and go to Senate. The K-12 funding will be a large part of that bill.
What's the number of that legislation?
I said it's not legislation. The budget bill is 66.
So let me check in real quick, because,
Yes, sir.
All right.
let me check in real quick, because I know that, Mr. Stafford, you raised your hand a while ago, and can I ask just real quickly, I know that there's kind of two questions, categories here. A lot of people have questions about the levy that you're voting on, pretty soon. A lot of people have questions about state process. How many people primarily concerned about the levy that's going on in the ballot here soon? Okay, so it seems like a lot of people are concerned about that. So I don't know, and you had a question about that.
You'd mentioned, David, that you're using the small percentages, which is interesting. Because the percentages that you're using are overall numbers, but the actual number of the increase, like personally, the property tax, if this levy passes, my property tax for this levy will go from $375 to $1,375. I've been receiving phone calls from our older citizens in Bellbrook that are having to refinance their homes to live off their equity of their paid houses to pay their property taxes. So when you said it was just a drop in the bucket, it's not a drop in the bucket for these people that are in our community, that are on budgets. So I think that
I got it. Okay, so, and I'm going to say, when I say a drop in the bucket, I don't think 14% increase is a drop in the bucket. So if I said a 14% increase, what I was trying to do was keep it into perspective of a 300% increase on this levy is different than a 14% increase in our overall revenue. It's not a drop in the bucket, it's 14%.
You're good with the numbers. Mine's 375 to 1375. What's the percentage of increase?
I'm not going to do that in my head. But
It's almost 300 some odd percent.
so I'm going to tell everybody real quick though, we have a tax estimator that is on our website. You can bring up your particular property and see what this levy cost you now and what it would cost you if it passes. It's pretty simple, and that difference is the additional, money that you're going to have to pay.
But the percentage is 300 some odd percent.
On that one levy.
Yes, and that's the point. That's why everybody's upset. This drop in the bucket that you think is a drop in the bucket because you work with big numbers is a big deal to this community.
I go back to Mr. Stafford, hold on. Wait,
Crying because she can't pay her property taxes.
okay. So I go back to, if I use the phrase that a 14% increase in a tax bill that goes to a school district getting a 14% increase in their revenue is a drop in the bucket, I apologize. Because I don't think 14% is a drop in the bucket. So if I said that, I apologize. But I am going to say that you do have to look at it in perspective of all of their levies and not a particular levy, because it represents a portion of what they are. Yes? Oh, I'm sorry, you're calling me.
So, I also want to check into, because we had some people who wrote down some questions over here ahead of time, and I do want to get those asked as well. So one of them had to do with the accountability for the money that's been collected. And so what they said was strict accountability for dollars collected from the levy passed in the fall of 2008 until new housing projects first started being completed in 2016. And then, and related to that, need to show the stats and exact cost of state mandates on our school system, and then what happens if the school levy fails, what cuts will happen, if any. And so, I don't know if anyone wants to take a stab at trying to, if anyone in the audience wants to take a stab at trying to answer that, or if those are questions that we just need to have asked. So I want to open that up to the room.
I'm just curious if anybody that works for the school district or representing the school, because I have two children, well, I have one child in school right now, and we're new to Ohio, we're military, and we have to vote on this next week, and I'm trying to decide what does a school district need to keep providing, because it's an excellent school.
So you're saying it's an excellent school, you want to know what the school needs in
And
order to
they're
keep that
telling
going?
me that they need this, so yeah.
So you'd like to know if somebody here is from the school or not?
Yeah, to know.
And so I got some people over here that are raising their hands.
I'm not from the school, but basically what he's telling us is, this is a budget from 1981. Do you or I still live on a budget that we had in 1981?
No, we don't. And so to me, it sounds like they need this.
There's a lot of, exactly, there's a lot of bad information going around the community. And I know that I can't live on the same budget I lived on in 1981.
It's not the same budget.
That is
You
what
can
you
say
said.
that here, eyeballs fall out.
So I just want to check in because there's a lot of conversation. I don't know if it's working for everybody or not. But you're saying that it's that you wouldn't live on the same budget you had in 1981.
Am I correct, Mr. Graham, that this type of levy has not been passed since 1981?
This particular levy, so let's go back and say in 2015 they replaced the 5.5 million. 2009 they replaced a different 5.5 million. So this is where I say I don't like isolating this one levy. I know this one levy is what you're voting on, but I want people to see the big picture. Now, when you say it's back from 1981, that's not true because they get new construction revenue from new construction that occurs. It's the reappraisal that causes that rate to drop to what it generated in the previous year.
So they get new construction kids too. So they get new construction expenses along with new construction revenue.
And then that's followed up with an operating budget within 6 months. They tag you twice.
And when land is annexed and new properties are built on that land, is Bellbrook Schools getting any of those new properties on land that's been annexed?
So you cannot annex and move a school boundary. You can only move a municipal and a township boundary with an annexation.
Okay.
So in this case, you're dealing with different issues.
So this gentleman here has had his hand up for a while.
Thanks. Mr. Graham, I just want to say that you answered about 5 or 6 of my questions that I had on specifics on how the levies work. I wanted to say thanks. And just to defend you, you did not say that it was a drop in the bucket. What you said was, in comparison to the over $500 million in evaluation, that was a drop in the bucket. So you said it right. Don't let anybody tell you different. Thank you.
I see some people who haven't had a chance to ask a question yet. I see this gentleman over here. You have your hand up?
Could you go back to the slide that talked about the floor and explain why Bellbrook's 35% and pretty much everybody else is at 20? And what is the implication? What does that mean? What's the take-home message from that slide?
That's, so if you hit that 20 mil floor and I reappraise your property, so let's pretend we're in Beaver Creek real quick. If I raise that value in Beaver Creek City School District 5%, that 20 mil floor kicks in, and you, the taxpayers in that district, are going to pay for an unvoted tax increase because that rate can't go down. Just like inside millage works, remember when I talked about inside millage, I don't care why your value went up, your taxes are going up. That's just the way it works, but it's only that 10 mils. When you're talking about the 20 mil floor, now it's treating all of that general fund millage that that school district has as inside millage because that rate can't go down. Every other rate, if you left every rate on indefinitely, it would never reach zero, but eventually that rate would work its way down to where it was close to zero.
So what does the 35 mean for Bellbrook?
The 35 means that it would, so I jokingly say this, and I'm not sure this is a room I want to joke in a lot. It would take, I would have to increase property values in Bellbrook Sugar Creek School District 44%. Now, if I do that, I'm telling you, I'm not getting reelected. Now, that's not the reason I would do it. It's not reasonable that somebody's value would go up 44% unless there was a significant difference. So, on an individual property, could it go up 44%? Yes. Hey, we found out you have finished basement, and you didn't tell me you had finished basement, so now I'm increasing your value. But that is a new construction change. These are driven by reappraisal changes.
So you would have to increase it by 44% to accomplish what?
Well, that would get that 35 mils, that 35.6 mils of effective millage, that would bring it down to 20. And then they would be at the floor also. And then if I increase values because of a reappraisal, the school district would get more money.
So how did we get to 35?
So because you have never played the, let me phrase this so it's not insulting. The school district here has never sought to reach the 20 mil floor. So what they've always said is that, no, if I need more money, I'm going to come to the taxpayers and ask them to replace an existing levy or vote an additional levy, instead of saying, I want my rate, my effective tax rate to go down to that 20 mil floor so that anytime a reappraisal occurs, I get more money as the school district.
So can I real quick, there's some confusion. Okay.
What he's saying that he's not, or what he's trying to say he's not allowed to say is that other districts are gaming the system so that they get automatic money, and ours hasn't done that to us.
I did not say that.
He did not say that because he can't. But I'm saying
That's your interpretation.
right, it's just that you said that other districts have a number of emergency bonds and those fall outside the bounds.
Well,
those
a bond, I go back to, I always look at bond as separate because it is going to
emergency
be.
levies, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Emergency levies that fall outside of the bounds, so there are other ways that these other districts have operated that can get them closer to these bounds so that they're going to not have to come to the taxpayers like our school board is doing to us.
Wouldn't that be beneficial?
Yeah, I would say they're just taking advantage of the tax.
So again, it depends. I mean, if I'm looking at it from the school district's perspective, it's easier. But I as a taxpayer, and can I separate myself from being county auditor for just a moment? I as a taxpayer would rather have a government that's going to treat me like I would want to be treated. I need